Hi there. Welcome to Apple World. A portion of those things return to cause major problems for you over the long haul. And stuff like that, so I'm not entirely certain yet. I've experienced a ton, I've seen a great deal again, like I'm staying here with my children in my home. Shit. Presented this on her story as USA. So will you procure I suppose that is towards Diddy, and assuming you're asking, how could I surmise since back in 2004, Diddy purportedly took steps to hit Kimora Lee Simmons, so it appears as though Diddy has landed himself in some really boiling water since individuals are presently emerging to talk their reality on his real essence, including Kimora Lee Simmons, who used to be closest companions with Diddy ex Kim Porter. So I'm hearing Kimora Lee carried a hard proof to show how Diddy purportedly unalived Kim Porter since she planned to uncover him for being a troublemaker, and Kimora had a ton of tea to spill about Diddy, so we should separate it well. Or why are these young ladies, not strong or not genuinely attempting to hear that? Or what have they gone through? What have they seen that you realize that has switched them off or that has put a negative impression for them? You realize we've seen a ton recently, it seems as though we're into the primary time of Getting by Diddy episode 5, since everyone is attempting to uncover reality behind Diddy. He could have rebranded himself as sibling love, yet word from the inside Oz has uncovered that he has nothing near affection. In actuality, presently in the event that you all in some way missed all the group that has been sizzling via web-based entertainment, these recent days Diddy's ex Cassie emerged to uncover him for mistreating her as well as sued him for his horrendous conduct. She came for him. Hard B claim affirms that he sa misventure in her own home after she attempted to leave him frequently punched, kicked and puzzled on Miss Weaver coming about in's burst love. Ips bruised eyes and draining force misventure to participate in cozy demonstrations with male SWS while getting off on it and recording the experiences, requested Miss Dare to convey his gun in her handbag, just to make herself conscious and exhibit how risky he is, and acquainted Miss Venture with a way of life of over-the-top liquor and substance misuse, and expected her to secure and evoke solutions to fulfill his own addictions. The lasso truly opened our eyes just to perceive how gravely Cassie had it when she was dating Diddy, and heads up, it was more regrettable than we suspected. I mean, the most terrible we considered Diddy was that he was a gay man who had illicit relationships with more youthful men in the business, and everybody was calling him fruity, and we felt that could have been the most obviously terrible about him. I mean, there were reports that he had something to do with Tupac's homicide, and he had D supposedly placed a hit on Tupac in light of the fact that Tupac was going to uncover him for being on the dough. However, that was simply hypothesis. And, surprisingly, however the police addressed him with respect to Tupac's homicide, they let him go in light of the fact that there wasn't sufficient proof to nail anything to him yet. Like I said, there wasn't sufficient proof connecting him to the past charges, nor were individuals able to emerge to straightforwardly blame him until Cassie furthermore, her claim made the way for such countless different disclosures. Cassie meticulously described how severely Diddy treated her, and she even had Aaliyah Banks conferring with her, and you all expertise crazy. It is for Aaliyah to concur with anybody on anything Aaliyah said. This is valid one. Time Diddy beat her up so terrible he sent her on a 3-week excursion to Hawaii just so nobody would see or address how her face got like that. Yet that wasn't all, since Cassie additionally uncovered how did he used to fool her into taking. She uncovered that he would maneuver her toward ingesting the medications despite the fact that she would have rather not. She likewise guaranteed that he was dependent on torment pills, and at whatever point his legitimate stock of agony pills ran out, he would compel her to assist him with scoring more pills. She additionally likewise discussed how he was so fixated on holding her under his influence that he would try and venture to ensure her clinical records were shipped off to him, not hers. The court report said that on various occasions, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura's own clinical records sent straight to his email address. For example, when Miss Venture started encountering cognitive decline, possibly because of unnecessary medication use, as well as head wounds brought about by Mr. Combs, as depicted underneath her X-ray results, which were given straightforwardly to Mr. Coles, the claim was discussed 2 or multiple times where he put hands on her, like the time they were coming back in the wake of going to a party with Jay-Z. Mr. Combs beat Miss Venter over and over in Escalade, including by kicking and hitting her. He constrained her out of the vehicle on 5th Road in New York City. She was ultimately ready to flag down a taxi and get to her loft in Manhattan. Likewise, When Cassie addressed a music supervisor in order to further her vocation, it was nothing significant, simply a relaxed discussion in the club. However, Diddy lashed out that when they left the club, Mr. Combs drove Miss Venture into a corner of the vehicle, trampling her face. When the vehicle showed up at Mr. Combs' home, Miss Ventura endeavored to take off, yet Mr. Combs followed her and continued to kick her in the face. Miss Venture was blinging lavishly and was guided into Mr. Collins' home, where she started to hurl from the B episode. She likewise discusses how he would compel her to draw in a private with employed male SWs, since he got a kick out of the chance to watch her get physically involved with dark guys with BBCs. If you catch my drift, and he got off on it now, Cassie guaranteed she would have rather not participated in this. Yet, did he constrain her to utilize medicates so she could traverse the war without separating the claim? Mr. Combs generally provided Miss Adventure with bountiful measures of medications previously, and during the FOS Miss Venture was given to light cocaine, GHB Mary Jane, liquor, and unnecessary sums during the FOS, which permitted her to disassociate during these awful experiences. It became ordinary to get IV liquids in the days after Fu recovered from unreasonable substances pushed upon her. You all made the claim endlessly, and I'm not, in any event, going to get into every last bit of it since it's so horrendous on such countless records. Right away, he attempted to deny the charges, and he did the typical discussions of how Cassie was out for cash, how she was lying and attempting to shake him down, and how he wouldn't represent it, and it would have been demonstrated in court that she was lying. Miss Venture's interest of $30 million in the danger of composing a harmful book about their relationship was unequivocally dismissed as an outright shakedown, notwithstanding pulling out her underlying danger. Miss Venture has now depended on documenting a claim loaded with unjustifiable and crazy falsehoods, intending to discolor Mr. Cole's standing and looking for a payday anyway. Cassie had individuals on her side, and he was getting such an excess of kickback that he decided to settle the claim solely. After one day, the way that he settled so rapidly just made it look more dubious to the general population, yet Cassie put out an announcement saying, "I've chosen to determine this matter genially on conditions that I have some degree of control. I need to thank my family, fans, and attorneys for their faithful help, yet, on the grounds that Cassie settled and dropped the case doesn't imply that the most exceedingly awful has blown over for Diddy, since individuals are as yet discussing what is happening, particularly since Kimora Lee Simmons has now entered the visit to discuss Diddy and his relationship with her late BFF Kim Porter. Now, before we get into Kim Porter, individuals began to gather two into a single unit and acknowledge exactly how severely Diddy treats ladies, particularly those he was once involved with. An old meeting from his protector, Jean, remerged, where he talked about how he used to put hands on his child's mother, and afterward, his sweetheart. Misa Hilton settled that for you because Misa was out there screwing with, the man from EPMD? That is the reason I first previously beat ass. But she wasn't the only one since his side piece. Gina additionally uncovered that Diddy mistreated her before all else, like the initial 3-in-1/2 years he was. I mean, the initial multi-month 3-4 months he was truly decent, however. At that point after that he began being like I say, the initial 3.5 years he was like malicious toward me, so when you say mean portray it, he was a bive. He resembled continuously deprecating me and consistently, he was like intellectually, genuinely, and actually me suck. Supposedly, he did likewise that Kim Porter, since there are few reports of how Diddy treated her. There are innumerable reports of Diddy putting hands on her. Like this old meeting where Jean talked about how Diddy treated Kim so terrible to the point where she at last began retaliating and shielding herself. When they were at home at Kim's home on 110 Road, he needed to, put his hands on her in an incorrect manner, and Kim took one of those court messes and tore his wrist up and hit a corridor. And when she did that, he needed to rush over to St. Luke's emergency clinic.